Are you chasing returns or building a plan? In today's episode of Retire Stronger, we're breaking down the three keys every successful retirement plan needs: consistency, commitment, and confidence. If you've saved well but still feel uncertain about the future, this is the mindset shift that can turn your nest egg into a reliable income strategy. Let's dive in. Hello, and welcome to Retire Stronger, episode 15, the show that helps you protect what you've built and turn it into lasting, tax efficient retirement income. I'm your host, John Foard, co founder of Crown Advisors. With me is my co host, Bill Kearney. Say hello, Bill.
Good morning, John. Good morning, everyone. Glad to be here.
Awesome. So, today, Bill, we're tackling a mindset topic that separates those who hope to retire comfortably from those who actually do. We're going to be diving into the three keys to a successful financial plan: consistency, commitment, and confidence. Now, Bill, these aren't just feel-good buzzwords of the day or of the month, of the year. This is real mental muscles that drive real financial outcomes. So whether you're 5 years from retirement or already drawing an income, mastering these three keys could be the difference between peace of mind and second guessing every decision. So today, that's what we're going to be breaking down in this episode, folks. And Bill and I are going to kind of go through our thoughts on these three things, give you our take on why they are so important when crafting a financial plan, a strategy for your wealth and your retirement income. And I know, Bill, I know you're ready to break this down and get going on this topic, because this is something we're very passionate about and why we do the kind of planning that we do. So I'm going to kind of let you just dive in and just start talking about the first key number one, which is consistency.
Yeah, John, thanks. And, before we get into consistency here, I thought it would be a good idea to back up and talk about what it is that we're doing here and what it is that folks come to us, and frankly, folks come to other advisors seeking. And I can tell you this, and I don't have actual a way to cite this data, but I'm going to give you some of the data that we have here, which is essentially most people that we meet do not have a retirement income plan. In fact, some of the prevailing wisdom out there shows around 77% of pre-retirees do not have a retirement income plan. And those that think that they have a plan, oftentimes they just have a hodgepodge of products and investments and strategies designed by different people who are working on different parts of their financial world. And, that can work, but it may not work like a well-oiled machine. And in fact, some more of the prevailing wisdom out there shows that around 39 to 40% of people really are the only ones that are confident that their money is going to last through retirement. That means there's a large majority of people who do not sleep well on the windy nights, as we like to call it, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's why retirement income planning is so important. And that's kind of what our juice is, right? Like, we love the markets, we love investing, we love portfolio management, all of that stuff is great. But what we really love doing is taking a situation where maybe you have a hodgepodge of products and services and reorganizing them into an actual income plan that you can track the progress on going forward. So once all of that is put in place, and there are many steps that it takes to get there, that's where these three steps come in. These three keys come in to making sure that that plan stays on track. Think of it like the maintenance on your landscaping around your house. That's what these three keys are, right? So John, you mentioned consistency being the first key. It really is. And we're not talking about market rates or returns or interest rates. We're really talking about your behavior. This is more talking about your emotional intelligence behind your financial plan. Because in a world where headlines change daily and markets can move 2% in the morning and then 2% the other way in the afternoon, the clients who stay the course with their plan are the ones who succeed. Yep. Or you could say give themselves the best chance to succeed.
Right. In other words, like, we don't want to be chasing stuff here. We're not trying to chase returns constantly or the next shiny object that gets flashed in front of us.
Exactly. And that's because consistency beats brilliance, right? A consistent, well-executed plan will always outperform a flashy knee-jerk strategy,
100%.
Right? That's where we go into things like, if we try to time the market, we've got to be right 2 times. We got to be right going out, and we got to be right getting back in. It's very hard to do that over and over again. So building a more strategic plan and then sticking to that plan with consistency and making changes when necessary are extremely important. So
I
let me
agree.
give you a real world example of how consistency works. All right. I recently worked with a couple, we'll call them Mark and Susan, who started Roth conversions about 6 years ago. And these folks are disciplined, right? Every December, no matter what the market is doing, we execute a partial Roth conversion right up to the top of their tax bracket. We fill that bucket up. So
Hmm.
fast forward today, their taxable income is lower. Their required minimum distributions are minimized. They've built a bucket of tax-free income that they can tap into anytime. That's the power of staying consistent. And I can tell you that in some of those years, this wasn't easy to do. The market was in different places in all of those 6 years, and it didn't necessarily seem like it was the right thing to do. But we had a framework of a plan that told us it was the right thing to do. We stuck to that plan. So that's a great example there. We could give you dozens more like that of consistency and how it works. But I can tell you this, that some of the best ways to be consistent is to automate your plan as much as possible. That's what Mark
Yeah.
and Susan did. They automated their plan, right? They automated essentially what their Roth conversion timeline would be. So you can do this now by auto contributing to your Roth IRA accounts or your brokerage account, right? You can do this by scheduling annual reviews on the same month every year. So you have a consistent timestamp of what's going on in your plan. And then work with your advisor now. Let's say you're over 40 and you're not close to retirement, but you're saving well. This is the time when you can start to pre-plan your Roth conversion thresholds with your advisor, right? And we always kind of joke and say, look, consistency isn't sexy. It can be kind of boring, right? But you know what is really cool is peace of mind.
Well, yeah,
And
100%.
peace of mind, John, is why we do this.
Oh, 100% agree.
Peace of mind is why I think our clients like working with us, because in the end of the day, money is just the fuel for your journey through life. How you manage that is what's going to determine what your peace of mind looks like and if you enjoy the ride.
I agree. And I'm gonna touch on the next topic right here, which is commitment. But I want to back up, and you mentioned something a minute ago about um, making sure you schedule your annual reviews with your advisor on the same month or same time frame of every year, so you have a consistent timestamp of what's happening in your plan. Folks, I cannot stress how important that is. It's very, very important for you to have a meeting at least once per year with your advisor to discuss things. It's one of those things that if you're not reaching out to your advisor to schedule that meeting, and if they're not reaching out to you, something has to change. And so I bring that up because the next key to success of your financial plan is commitment, and that commitment is multiple things here. You know, um, and I'm not talking about committing to try to be perfect here. It's not about perfection. It's about persistence. It's about being in it for the long game, even when the scenery gets rough. I mean, you mentioned that as well a minute ago. Sometimes it doesn't, it hurts a little bit to stay committed and consistent with your plan, but you have to do it. You just absolutely have to do it. And being committed and staying the plan, it's staying on the path and continuing with the plan that you believe in, especially when it's tempting to jump ship. I mentioned the shiny object syndrome a minute ago. Like, there's going to be a lot of times in the future after you've created your plan of action where something may flash in front of you and it's the next greatest, hottest thing. And you have to be mindful of the fact that, hey, even though that looks like it's possibly the right thing to do, or it's a new fad coming out, or a new type of investment or whatever, you still have to take stock in what you've created and make sure that that is what fits into your plan, and not just jump ship to copy what all the other people are doing around you. Commitment is key here. So, like, think back to March 2020. Well, the market dropped over 30% in just 2 weeks because of COVID. A lot of investors out there panicked and moved to cash, but others who had a long-term tax efficient income plan stayed committed to their plan. Some even converted more of their funds. Some of our clients and a lot of people we've talked to since then, they were so committed to their plan that they converted even more of their funds to Roth while prices were down. Today, they're sitting on an enormous tax-free, pot of money that they can draw from during retirement, and it's growing still, and it's in the money and the markets came back. So here's the problem. Too many people treat financial planning like a fad diet. They commit for 90 days and expect miracles, or they commit for a little while when this is supposed to be a long-term plan, and then they just kind of say, it's fine doing what it's doing. We don't need to do reviews. We don't need to come back in and make sure we're staying the course and doing what we need to do. But the thing is your finances, just like your health, they respond best to consistent long-term effort. So again, commitment is key here. Staying the plan, staying the course. So quick tip, ask yourself, what part of your plan do you tend to second guess most? Then revisit the original why that you did this, and the why behind the strategy. Whether it's a tax hedge or a legacy goal or an income stream, it probably still makes sense if viewed in the correct light. So that is why doing reviews is so important in making sure that you are still on track for the original goal that you set for yourself. And if things need to be adjusted, that is the time to do it during the annual review. Have those discussions with your advisor and make sure that you're still moving down the right path. And that kind of leads us right into the next key, which I believe, Bill, you're going to tackle for us, which is confidence.
Yeah, and with everything you were just talking about there, John, with consistency and commitment, this isn't about the fact that your plan can't change.
Correct.
This doesn't mean that your plan, you would put it in motion and we spin the globe and that's it, right? No, we know, and you know that through time, your goals are going to change. Your life is going to change. You're going to have life events that are unexpected. Mm-hmm. And we see that all the time with our clients. So a carefully constructed plan allows you to be nimble when you need to be nimble. And that is also part of the consistency and the commitment that you need in that plan, knowing that you can make changes inside of it as needed. And all of that should lead to this third step, which is confidence. That is really kind of the final key here, right? And confidence isn't being arrogant. I have the best plan ever created, right? It's not that. It's just a sense of clarity. It's the ability to walk into retirement with your head high, knowing that your decisions are based on strategy, not fear. And I'll
totally
give you an example from this, which is, if you're sitting there right now and you're not sure whether you should be in or out of the market, I would suggest that perhaps you don't have a carefully constructed plan with carefully constructed and clear strategies on how that should work, right? And I find that this is where a lot of people actually are. And even a lot of our clients sometimes have to kind of be talked and coached through this as well, because when the storms come, it can be scary. And we think that everything's falling apart and then our plan's not going to work. It's just not true if it's carefully constructed. You can weather what's coming, whatever that might be, right? And I think that confidence also comes from education, from planning and reviewing your progress. That's why we were talking earlier about the reviews. They're so important to do that and to show year by year by year, what is my progress? And in bad years, bad market years, for example, well, what was the effect on the overall plan? Not just on the investments, not just on the rate of return. We understand that all of those things are important, but what is the overall effect on what my plan is projecting going forward? Mm-hmm. I think that kind of just comes from seeing the numbers in black and white and saying, yes, I'm on track, right?
Absolutely.
And so I would say that confidence is what replaces anxiety when your plan has the correct structure. Can I, John, can I give another client story here
Sure.
that kind of reflects this?
Absolutely.
So recently, one of our clients, Dan, who is a 62-year-old physician, he had a little bit more than $2 million in his IRA, but he was just worried sick about future tax rates because all of that money was tax deferred. He hadn't paid tax on it yet, and he knows it's coming, that he's going to have to start doing that. So what we did is created a glide path for him and kind of gave him the visual of, okay, look, Dan, we can see the airport out in the future, right? We can see the runway that we're going to have to land on here. Let's create a glide path that gets you down to the ground successfully and minimize the taxes if possible, or as much as possible going forward. So what does that mean? Well, we came up with strategic Roth conversions. We came up with some charitable giving from his IRA, and then relocating some of his higher growth assets into a tax-free bucket, right? So now instead of stressing because he can see the before and the after and what that looks like, he's really excited about retirement. And that's what confidence feels like. And this is a good example, John. I mentioned he's a physician, right? He's really good at what he does. And he will admit that he's not as great with this part of the planning part of it, which is why he's with us, right?
Exactly.
He wanted to kind of offload this from his radar, but then be able to check in and say, I've got the confidence I need to make sure this is going in the correct direction here. We find a lot of people are that way. And I'm not going to say it's exactly what people are thinking, but a lot of times that's the sort of confidence that people need to progress forward and put their head on the pillow at night and sleep well, right? And I mentioned earlier, I think kind of to cap it here is that confidence really does grow, in my opinion, after reviewing your plan during bad market years. As an advisor, I don't fear the bad market years in facing my clients. Normally because we have a plan in place that deals with that, well allocated, all that sort of stuff. But when you see the resilience of what you built, that's a great success story in all of this. That tells you why you did what you did and that, hey, I made it through that and my plan made it through that. And actually, I'm stronger than I was before. That really breeds future peace of mind going forward. Would you not agree?
100% agree with you. Absolutely.
All right. So did you have any thoughts on all of that, John? I know I kind of just created a huge word salad there, but is there anything you wanted to add in on the confidence part? Because I know this is something you sort of harp on a lot with your clients individually as well.
No, I just think that you really covered it quite well. And I think talking about our client, Dan, was a great example of how proper planning and making sure you're doing reviews on a regular basis can really bring a lot of confidence into your outcome and feeling good about where you're coming from. Now he doesn't have to stress so much about his money and his taxes, and he can focus on what he wants to do or what he's doing as a physician through work and be prepared and feel good about when the time comes to say, I'm ready to hang this up and retire. So
yeah, exactly. And I think that, when we talk about the topic of, the three keys to a successful plan, people may have thought that they were coming in here and going to listen to some investment strategies,
yep.
or maybe a new
Yep.
fancy asset class that's out there that they don't know about. And ultimately, those things can help. They're important, but we're talking more from the 10,000 foot view of what it takes to be successful here. And we mentioned consistency, keeping your plan moving forward, even when markets wobble, right? Be consistent in what you're doing. The commitment piece, hold steady when short-term emotions tempt you off course. This happens so frequently. And frankly, your advisor should be there to help coach you through those things. It's not easy. But ultimately, confidence lets you retire stronger because you know what your money is doing and why it's doing it, why you have certain accounts, why you have certain investment strategies. That should breed the confidence you need to make sure that you're successful. These aren't the investment products, right? The investment products are the tools inside of this. But these are what we call planning virtues. And the good news is they can be built, they can be trained, they can be refined. You can become really good at this as an investor, as a planner yourself, working hand in hand with your advisor, right? It's just like going to the gym and working out your muscles, right? And getting stronger. When everything's working together, you ultimately turn a pile of investments into a real retirement plan, not just a hodgepodge of products and investments that are out there. That's exactly what this whole philosophy, this whole aura here is supposed to do. So, John, let's kind of cap this off here. I'll let you take it from here and
Sure.
carry us home.
Yeah, I think we've covered this topic pretty well here, and I think that if you have questions, please reach out to us. But and if you're listening and thinking, I have investments, but I don't know if I have a plan, it's probably time that you reached out to someone, whether it's us or someone else that that's a financial planner, a qualified financial planner, to grab a retirement confidence session, so to speak. So we definitely recommend that, and we're offering, we offer a complimentary a session. If you go to our website at crownadvisorgroup.com, that's Crown Advisor with an OR group.com. You can click on the complimentary retirement session button and schedule some time with us if you are so inclined, or you can give us a call to schedule that meeting at 704-469-0200. But folks, whatever you do, You want to make sure that, you meet with whatever professional you're working with, or find a professional if you don't have one, so that you can get clarity with your retirement income picture. You can stress test it for future tax situations and identify specific actions to boost consistency, commitment, and confidence. The three keys we spoke about today. So again, go to our website, grab a session to meet with us if you want to. And there's no cost and there's no obligation, but we only take a handful each month so we can give personalized advice. Your retirement deserves more than guesswork. So please reach out if you have questions, and we will look forward to hearing from you in the future. If you like today's episode, please share it with your friends, your family, your colleagues. We would appreciate that as well. And hit that like button for us. Until next time, thank you for joining us today on our Retire Stronger podcast. And we look forward to talking with you next go around. Bill, anything you want to say? All right, I think Bill's good to go. I think you might have been on mute.
I was on mute, John. I was just testing the technology to make sure the mute button works for everyone out there. No, I was just saying thanks for the time, everyone, spending a little bit of your time with us this week. Hope you learned something, and look forward to talking to everyone next week.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Talk to you soon.